In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and Chinese-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. It's Thursday the 25th of January while we're recording this, not while you're listening to it, which means that in the UK it's Burns night. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is my husband Joe.
Please don't do that ever again.
Very mean.
So in celebration of Burns night, Vicky is drinking gin and tonic.
The only reason, but I'm drinking gin and tonic because Joe poured us each a gin and tonic before going, hang on, it's Burns night. We should be drinking whiskey. So I'm drinking all of the gin and tonic and Joe
is drinking all of the whiskey.
What are you drinking, Joe?
I'm drinking Royal Lochnagar.
12-year-old.
Which is,
And I am drinking crap tonic because we were unprepared for the gin department and the seaweed gin that Tanya sent us. Thank you,
nice.
Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya.
So cheers, everyone. Happy Burns night.
It's the end of the seaweed gin.
It's the end of the seaweed gin.
That's how good that was.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Happy Burns night to all of the Scots out there. We should be eating haggis, neeps and tatties.
We should.
And for all of the non-Scots out there are going to be going, what the fuck is haggis, neeps and tatties? It sounds rude.
It doesn't.
Neeps and tatties?
Sounds like turnips and potatoes to me.
Okay. Anyway, Joe's back.
Hello.
Hello, I'm back. Hello.
Hello.
For all of our listeners, Joe just gave me a look then like I was supposed to say something and I look confused. I'm back from Canada, still slightly jet lagged, I think. And Joe is back from, well, nowhere really, just not
being on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely shattered because this week I have been working on a customer site that necessitates being on site at 7 a.m. and it's a 2-hour drive away.
Can we say who the customer is? You will definitely know who they are and you will have bought stuff from them.
You might have bought stuff off them.
Oh.
Not everybody would.
Pretty much everybody.
Big car manufacturer.
Oh.
What?
I thought it was somebody else that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, no. Some of my lads are working there.
Okay. Anyway, this week I'm kind of starting to ramp up a little bit to my new book, the book that I'm writing.
How's it going?
It's going really well. I'm about a third of the way through, so I'm on track to have it written by my 12-week goal, 4 weeks in.
Blimey.
Yep. This plan is working. My butt is freezing. I'm sitting on the tiled floor. Anyway, my book is about how to be more interesting. I haven't got a title yet. I had a title, but then the amazing Julia came up with a really good concept for the cover, and Joe was like, oh, well, you can't call it that now because you don't need to say it if you can see it. So I need to come up with another title, but it's basically about how to be more interesting, how to stand out in business, how to make more money, really.
How to be the person that people think of when they need something.
Yeah.
Like the thing that you do.
Yeah, and it follows on quite nicely from last week's podcast when I was interviewing Mark Kay, because he's all about how to put on a show. And really that's...
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark! And really that's kind of what I'm all about as well. It's just that he has a specific, how to put on a show thing. Because he's cool, and I wish I'd thought of it first.
Damn you.
But I have my thing, and that's a bit what we're going to talk about. I wanted to talk today about why you're such a scaredy cat. Dear listener.
Oh, right. The dear listener.
Yes.
I thought they were pointing that at me then.
No, I'm not pointing that at you. Because we are all scared. And I'm going to start off with an Oscar Wilde quote. There is only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. And that is true.
Oh, David.
What?
I feel too much of an introvert for that kind of thing to make sense to me.
Really?
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who just go, I just don't want that. Do you not reckon?
What do you mean?
I want to be good at what I do, and I want to be recognised for that. I suppose.
Yeah, but you don't run a business.
No, I don't.
And also, what he means by that is that if nobody is ever talking about you, it means that nobody ever thinks about you at all, and you are just utterly insignificant to everybody. And that's kind of sad.
Yeah, but it also implies that as long as you're being talked about, it doesn't matter what they say.
Well,
which I kind of disagree with, I think.
Better than not being talked about at all. I'd rather have a tombstone that said she was a bit of a dick than no tombstone at all.
Yeah, but would you rather be known for, like, the Donald Trumpy nonsense, or would you rather be good at what you do? I don't know.
That's like comparing apples and weevils.
Yes. Okay.
Basically, I'm right and you're wrong on this one. Anyway,
all right, you're right, I'm wrong.
And when it comes to business, I'm totally right. I'm absolutely right. Because if nobody's talking about it, you're not going to sell anything. Ever.
Okay.
And it's really as simple as that. But it's very scary to stand out. And if we stand out, people will talk about us, and that's a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that we're not filming this, I can exemplify it, like, in real time, excitingly. The reason that we're not filming this podcast today is because I couldn't be bothered to go and put my contact lenses in. And there is no way I'm going to go on camera in front of people with my ugly milk bottle glasses on my face.
Aw.
Because it will make me stand out for all of the wrong reasons.
I think you're lovely.
Oh, you're very sweet. But, you know, this stems actually from a recurring nightmare that I used to have as a child. And this is all completely relevant. And the recurring nightmare that I had, and even thinking about it now makes me break out in a hot sweat and prickles, was that I would be on... I used to do judo. I'll go right back to the beginning. I used to do judo for years and years, and I did it until I was about, I guess, 13 or 14 years old, and my brother did judo as well, and we had like a big social group, and our parents were friends with all the judo parents. We were all involved in the judo club, and every year the judo club had a Christmas disco. Mm-hmm. During which all of the adults would get absolutely hammered and sing New York, New York by Frank Sinatra at the end of the evening. And all of the kids would, the little kids would, like, dance like crazy and stay up until ridiculous o'clock and eat sugar. And the teenagers would all stand awkwardly and, you know, give each other looks and, you know, hope that the cool boy was going to ask you to dance.
Right.
In the way of kind of school discos everywhere. Only in this case, it wasn't, you know, just kids and adult chaperones. It was drunken adults singing New York, New York. Anyway, this is like an example of my extreme social anxiety. Before these discos, in the weeks running up to them, certainly when I got to, I don't know, I guess the age of 11 onwards, I would have this recurring nightmare that I was woefully unprepared for the disco, and I had forgotten to put my contact lenses in and wash my hair. I hadn't put any makeup on, and then my parents were just like, right, we've got to go, and they took me there and they dumped me in there, and I was wearing crap clothes, dreadful ugly glasses, my spotty face, and just looked horrific, and it was just the worst thing in the world.
That's kind of like that's my entire social life up until I was like, you know, beautiful and 18.
Yeah, but the thing is, we don't tell people this, and so we think that we're the only ones that feel that way. But I feel really now, even thinking about it, and I still have that nightmare on occasion.
Did you ever actually have a school a judo disco like that?
No, because I was far too anxious for that to ever happen. I was obsessive about it. But you know, I still have that worry now. If I'm going to a party or something, I'll be like, oh, I have forgotten to put my contact lenses in. I've got my glasses on my face. And I've still got haven't I got massive hang-ups about wearing my glasses in public. It was quite a long time before I'd wear my glasses in front of you. But luckily, my butt is awesome, and so I can just get you to focus on that instead of my face. So, slight tangent. But yeah, this is kind of, you know, this was my nightmare, that I would stand out for all the wrong reasons, or even at all, as a teenager. Mm-hmm. And that it's kind of natural, because 3.8 billion years of evolution has driven us to fit in above all else. Human beings are not, you know, sticking our heads above the parapet and standing out for any reason at all. It's not just terrifying in a kind of social anxiety sense. It could mean a death sentence in ancient times. And so, you know, we can go right back to
saber-toothed bears.
We can go right back to saber-toothed bears, where if you were isolated from your social group, you were pretty much going to die because you couldn't survive on your own. Mm-hmm. You know, you were going to be eaten by something, you were going to be clocked over the head by a rival, you know, tribe or a group of roving Neanderthals or whatever. Actually, it was more likely that Homo erectus and Homo sapiens would have clonked a Neanderthal on the head, you know, because they were quite gentle.
I reckon one-on-one, I reckon the Neanderthals could be all right, but
But they were peace-loving,
Didn't have the brains.
apparently. Anyway, but yeah, so it could have been a death sentence. And back in ancient Greece, back that far, they had ostracism. And, that's where the word comes from. People being... It was basically the worst punishment that you could possibly have in ancient Greece was, it was not even the death penalty, I don't think. It was being banished from your city for
So what does the
for a
word...
decade.
What, in Greek, is Ostra a place? Or is Ostra... where does the word come from?
It comes from... Hang on 1 second, because I've got it written down. It comes from ostracophoria, which was a vote. Or the word ostracophoria is what our word ostracism comes from.
Okay.
And it originated in Athens, and it was basically the population could banish any prominent citizen who threatened the stability of the state without bringing any charges against him. So it was a way of getting rid of people, and they voted on this. And so any citizen entitled to vote could write another person's name down, and if enough people wrote the same name, the ostracized person had to leave the state of Attica within 10 days and stay away for 10 years. Can you imagine that? Not just being banished, but having your fellow citizens, your family and friends vote to
Move you on.
to move you on for 10 years. And,
Wow.
you could come back to all your stuff, all of your lands and titles and stuff you would come back to them. But I think the psychological damage that would do to you would be enormous. It would be huge. So, that was not a trivial punishment. Back in olden times. And psychologists and researchers have been studying the effects of loneliness, and this is really interesting as well, and of social isolation and rejection. And we know how much damage putting prisoners into solitary confinement does to their mental health, and I've always thought that was a barbaric thing to do. I think it's insane. I think it's an insane thing to do to people. And we've also studied the long-term effects of isolated social groups by watching volunteers who stay at the Antarctic research centres over winter.
Sure.
And there've been films made about this stuff. There's did we watch one set in the Antarctic Research Centre where somebody goes mad?
You're not talking about The Thing from John Carpenter, are you?
No,
That's Aliens.
There's a newer one.
Big spider heads.
But there was also, what was that film with Sam Neill? It was Event Horizon.
Right.
That was really creepy because I don't think that was ever clear whether there was like an outside entity or whether it was just the social isolation that made him go nuts. But then there's also The Shining. Where Jack Nicholson goes crazy, and that's social isolation. Castaway with Tom Hanks and Shut In with Naomi Watts is another film that I haven't seen, but is apparently about being isolated. It changes your brain chemistry, basically.
I've never quite... I've never really felt that I understand quite how bad ostracization or being, kept away from population, how bad that would be. Because it doesn't sound that terrible to me now, having not experienced it, but I guess I would change my mind after a couple of weeks.
Yeah, if you ask anybody, I think, who's spent any amount of time in either a very small group or on their own, I think because it does change your brain chemistry, and you start to see things and you start to hear things, and even when you go away for a few days, if I'm not at the studio for a couple of nights, then I'm basically on my own here because I don't go and see anybody. And you do start to hear things.
Noodle's a person too,
I know, and I do talk to the cats. But you do start to hear things and you start to see things, and your brain will conjure, if you've been alone for long enough, your brain will conjure up, like ghosts you could call them, I guess, but shadows of people that, that you could start talking to. And that is what happens to most people under extreme...
Crikey.
Yeah.
So I go away for business for a couple of days and you're talking to ghosts.
Yeah. No, I'm not. No, but if I spent a week here without going to the pole studio or something, then I probably would start to go a bit doolally. Because we need social interaction with people.
Okay. So.
And loneliness can also kill as well. So they've done quite a lot of, we need friendship to survive and thrive. It's one of our basic human drives, and we have a fundamental need for inclusion in social groups and for close relationships. So sticking your head above the parapet and standing out and doing things differently from other people is really risky.
Because you socially fear the isolation and being different and being torn away from the group.
Yeah.
Or thrown out of the group, I guess.
Thrown out of the group, yeah, rejected. Rejection is horrible. It's why we find it so difficult to ask for stuff, because someone might say no. And whilst, it's easy to say, oh, what's the worst that can happen? They can say no. Actually, it can be quite painful to have someone say no.
Yeah.
Emotionally and psychologically and all the rest of it.
And as a chap, always being the one expected to do all the asking when there's young ladies of interest knocking around. That's a pain in the ass.
You didn't have any trouble saying to me, can I move in with you? After we'd known each other for 2 weeks.
That's not how it worked.
Kind of is. Just moved in and you never left. But yeah, I mean, you've actually made a really good point there. That, there's a lot of social pressure on men to ask out women. And, more often than not, you're going to get knocked back.
You are.
Because that's the nature of life. And, sorry, chaps. Ladies, if you've got somebody who you'd like to go out with, don't sit and wait. Oh, like that bloody film, Love Actually.
This is a massively divisive subject because an awful lot of people think that is like the worst film in the world.
I know, but an awful lot of people love it, and I'm not getting into that. But there's that scene with the woman the American woman who works in the design agency. She's been in love with the designer, and it's like. Why would you not say something? Why would you stay there for 3 years and not say something? And if he likes her, why would he not say something? And if he hadn't said something...
Because they're both drippy, wet twats who just are rubbish.
Anyway,
Jesus.
let's not...
They don't deserve relationships, those two.
That's harsh.
3 years, come on.
But she was quite... Anyway. My point is, it's really risky to put yourself out there and
It feels really risky.
Well, it is.
Do you think it is? Do you think it is in this day and age? With all of the people on the planet you could just contact and weird little groups that you could go and nestle in?
I think you would be surprised how many people are chronically lonely. Even because I think actually there's been a lot of research that suggests that all of this connectedness online actually is making people more lonely. Because
now they know 7,000 people a little bit rather than 20 really well.
Yeah, and it's not a real connection. I mean, I tend to go and make my online connections real. Like I went to visit Misty in Canada, which was awesome. Hi, Misty.
Hi, Misty.
And so I tend to make my, the meaningful online friendships real, as I think a lot of people do. But people who are less able to do that, and if that's all they've got, it's not a real relationship. It's not a real, it's not necessarily a real connection. So, but yeah, there's an awful lot of... there's a lot of bad stuff to being rejected. When our need for social relationships isn't met, we fall apart mentally and we fall apart physically as well. And I didn't realise this until I was researching my book, but our bodies produce excessive stress hormones, which damage our arteries. They literally, harden our arteries and create high blood pressure. They can affect our learning and memory. So if you're chronically lonely, you find it very difficult to retain stuff.
Crikey.
It affects the way we learn. In children, social rejection and isolation leads to dropping out of school and becoming outcasts. And we all know from, what happens in American schools, what happens then. That's when you get school shootings and stuff. And I've massively oversimplified that, but I would imagine that's a big part of it. And it's more likely that kids will become delinquent and antisocial. They've studied this. So, it's really important. In adults, loneliness can trigger depression, substance abuse, and a whole bunch of other medical stuff down the line. Resulting from kind of, the high blood pressure and stuff. And so, there's some other really...
What we've got here is an awful lot of good reasons why we've evolved, why we've been trained, why our culture and our society suggests we maybe shouldn't be too outrageous and stick our head above the parapet.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is, do it.
Well, yeah, because whilst it's incredibly important that you have a social group around you and a family that cares about, or family and friends that care about you, or, a group of people that you can connect with, and it's really important to fit in socially, it's suicide business-wise.
To just be the same as everyone else.
To just be the same as everyone else, yeah. Because if you look the same as everybody else, how is anyone ever going to notice you?
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason behind me writing my book. It's the whole reason behind me doing everything that I do, basically. And I get really excited about this. I get really passionate about it because I'm really keen that people obviously have the support groups around them, which is part of the reason why I started the superheroes, because that's a group of people who get it and who understand what you're going through. But also because, getting up the courage to do something a little bit different builds confidence in yourself as well, and it helps you in all sorts of other areas of life.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, confidence comes from being put in a stressful situation and doing it anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And overcoming the fear that drives you not to do it
Yes.
is where confidence comes from, I think.
I think so, yeah. And succeeding at it, but also not taking the failure as a full stop. Failure is not a full stop. Failure is just, okay, well, let's try something else.
Yeah, Henry Ford. Failure is just an opportunity to do it better next time.
Yeah, and there are some forms of ultimate failure, like failing to fly off the top of a building probably won't give you a second chance. But in business, I would say I can't think of any scenarios where failure is the end of the line.
There are some pretty silly things you could do. You could decide that, you're going to remortgage your house for the 4th time and bet it all on your, pig makeup line.
I think that would sell. That's my new business.
That might be,
That's an amazing idea.
That might be possibly not the best thing to do. However,
yeah, but, most people aren't going to think about doing that. What's going to stop, most people are going to be too afraid to do stuff like, oh, you know what, I couldn't possibly put on an event of my own because what if nobody comes? Well, what if nobody comes?
Yeah, you've just learned something.
Yeah, you might have spent a couple of £100 on a room. And you know what? If nobody signs up for it, get a bunch of your friends to come and do it anyway. Yeah. Because that will give you experience, it will give you confidence, and you'll have people there who care about you and want you to succeed. And then you've got testimonials, and it's like, it doesn't matter if they haven't paid for it. Yeah. It's so do it anyway. And people who are listening are going to be scared of doing so. I couldn't possibly make a marketing video, because it's going to have my face on video. Hello, after all of the stuff that I've just told you about how much I hate my glasses and the struggle that I've had with getting to like my own face, and now I make video, and you kind of laugh, but I don't like my own face, and that is it's difficult. It's a problem when I'm like, oh, I don't want to have any photos taken. I don't want to be on video, but if I want people to trust me, I have to put my face out there, and I have to get over it. And I'm aware that it's my problem, and it's an internal negative self-talk bullshit kind of thing. But I feel it, and I can feel myself tensing up now. My shoulders are all hunched, aren't they?
Yeah.
And yet I do it anyway, because I know that I have to, and every time I do it, it gets a little bit easier. And you know what? I've had not one single nasty comment from anybody on my videos and stuff. I still get the odd hate mail via email.
Do you?
Only very occasionally. I've not been growing my list for a while. I suspect I'll get some more when I start growing my list.
Sure.
I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's good. Have you, as a slight aside, if you haven't heard Richard Dawkins reading out his hate mail.
Oh, yes, that's brilliant.
You should totally do that.
Yeah, because he's really posh, and he gets some really illiterate, nasty, like really, really nasty hate mail.
Really nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Which he just reads out beautifully.
Yeah. Oh, and we're gonna go into this a little bit over the next few podcasts, because I've got a whole series on this being more interesting and why we're afraid and not being afraid of stuff. But I just want to give you something to remember right now. Hate mail is almost never directed at you. They happened to read your email just after they stubbed their toe, and they were like, oh, that bitch, I hope she dies. And it's like, of course they don't know you. They don't know you well enough to wish you any kind of harm or hatred or anything. 99.9% of the time, any hate mail or trolling you get is nothing to do with you at all. It's all to do with the other person. And as soon as you can start internalizing that and kind of really understanding it, that's when you start to realise that, you're not going to let this stuff hold you back. Because it is scary. Sure. It's deeply uncomfortable to do something that makes you stand out, to do something different from everybody else is doing. But if you want your business to be successful, you have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to look like everybody else.
And that's it. And if you do look like everybody else, then
you're boring.
You're boring, and you're competing on price.
Yeah.
It's a race to the bottom at that point.
And that really sucks.
That's just shit, because there's somebody who's willing to do it for less money than you.
Yeah, it is. And I tell you what, I can tell you why this stuff, or I can explain how this stuff works, because I'm never quite sure. I never believe other people's figures, because people are like, oh, 7 figures this, 8 figure that, I've done this 6-figure launch. And it's like, what they don't tell you is all the behind the scenes stuff, like how many refunds they've had, how much profit they've made. It's profit, it's not...
How much their advertising budget was. If they spent 100 grand and they've made 120 grand,
then, it's
not that great.
It's not that great. No, it's better than breaking even, or losing money. But yeah, I had a video from my accountant today, and he'd sent my year-end accounts through.
You had a video from your accountant?
Yeah, and this is a really good example actually of how
sounds like he's differentiating himself.
Yeah, and he's awesome because he's not just an accountant, because he puts all your and he doesn't just send the accounts through. He sends a video explaining all the aspects, how they've worked it out, where they've got everything from. And it's like, you need to watch this, and then you need to tell us that you agree with it and it's okay, and then we'll submit it and all the rest of it. And going through my accounts, he was like, okay, so your accounts are not wildly different this last year from the year before, which is what I was expecting, because I kind of stagnated a little bit last year. But my profits proportionally were more last year than the year before. And a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, they were less, but proportionally they were more, because that's how it worked. Anyway, I don't do maths. He does maths. But he said, your turnover for somebody who does this on their own, who is basically a freelancer, kind of solopreneur type person, he's like, this is awesome. These figures are really, really good. And, you make a lot of money for somebody because he has loads of people on his books. He has like businesses with employees, he has other freelancers, he has all sorts of people. He's like, your figures are really good. You should be really, really proud of yourself. And that made my bloody day, because we work in a vacuum a lot of the time. We don't know what other people are doing. Yeah. And so for me to learn that actually, I'm not just comfortable, I haven't just got the lifestyle I want, I haven't got the lifestyle I want yet, but I'm kind of,
moving in the right direction.
I've got a very nice lifestyle. Yeah. But for me to hear that actually is really, really helpful, because it's like, I can now say to you with all, with actual truth and knowledge, this shit works. What I am telling you on this podcast works.
Because this is what you have done.
Because this is what I've done. The stuff that people pay me for, it works. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass like a lot of people that you will see hanging around online. And I really do care as well. So anyway, takeaway. The best way to get over this fear of standing out is to practice standing out. So I would like everybody listening to this podcast to do something that scares them today. And that might be go and ask for something. Like when I was checking in to go to Canada, I asked them if they would upgrade me to first class, which I've never done before. And I got really sweaty and bright red and embarrassed and I don't even know why, because it's like such a simple thing. And I explained to her, I said, this year is my year of every month I'm going to ask for something that somebody might say no to. I've never flown first class. I would be so excited to do so. Is there any chance of an upgrade, please? And kind of gave her a big grin, and she just kind of laughed at me. And then checked and had a look, and she's like, oh, I'm really sorry, we're actually overbooked. And they literally were. They were asking people to volunteer to stay. To get off the plane, yeah. But I asked, the point is I asked, and I felt so good afterwards. I felt so good. And I went and got myself a glass of champagne because I felt like I'd earned it. And it was almost as good. So go and do something that scares you. It might be, just go and start singing on a train. What's the worst that's going to happen? Yeah, people might laugh at you, but I've seen videos. Everybody joins in. If it's a song everybody knows, they'll join in, and you might start something really cool. Go and do a cartwheel in a public place. If you can do a cartwheel, don't injure yourself. I accept no responsibility for any injuries. Joe, you think of something sensible. No, not sensible. Not sensible. Think of something not sensible.
Oh, go and... Well, everybody's got that thing that they haven't done because they're a bit frightened of it. Go and do it. Join the club.
Go and say hello to someone.
Go and say hello. Smile to someone.
Talk to a stranger. Talk to strangers. Run with scissors. Don't run with scissors.
Run with scissors.
Talk to strangers, though. Go if you see somebody who looks interesting and you think, oh, that person looks interesting, go and say hi to them. Because I often see people in, like, amazing shoes or amazing coats, and I'd love to go up and say, your shoes look amazing. Where did they come from? And I don't, for a variety of reasons. Mostly because I'm chicken. But you never know. A whole beautiful friendship could come out of something like that.
Like Tim, one for the ladies, said, serendipity takes work.
Serendipity takes work. Yeah, this shit doesn't just happen.
Got to go and get out there and make these things happen.
You have. So go and do something that scares you today. And then you should go to www.vickyfraser.com/flamingo.
Oh, bloody hell. That's a new one.
And pre-register for my brand new book, which is going to be out in April.
That's super confident.
It is super confident. It's going to be out in April. It's going to be a really good book. I'm really proud of it already.
Cool.
I think it's going to be really, really helpful for people. And if you're one of the first few, you will get a limited edition hardcover version of this book.
Really?
And probably some extra goodies too. But I will, if you give me your name and your email address at vickyfraser.com/flamingo, I will let you know as soon as you can order it. As soon as you can pre-order it.
Awesome.
Yeah. What else can I do? Join my superheroes crew, because this is why I built the group, so that, you know, you've got a place full of people who will understand when you do the scary shit, and that's the place you can come to when people point and laugh at you.
If you're feeling a bit socially isolated, if you're feeling like you're running a business on your own and nobody's talking to you.
Yeah. Which you are, because nobody gets it. Nobody gets it.
Yeah.
People will inadvertently make you feel like shit for the choices that you make, and you know they will pat you on the head and say, "Oh, it's nice that you've got a little business that kind of gives you pocket money while your husband is paying the mortgage and the bills and all the rest of it." And Joe's laughing because he knows where that's come from. And it's not meant. It's not meant badly. It's not meant meanly. It's just that they don't understand.
Do you remember when the lovely village pub offered you a few hours behind the bar?
Yeah.
Because they thought you might need a few quid.
Yeah, but that's what it's like. And I know perfectly well that almost all business owners listening to this will know exactly what we're talking about when we say that, because it's really tough. You need people who get you. So if you think that you would like to join a group of people who, you know, who get you and who will have your back and who will help you get stuff done, then go to businessforsuperheroes.com/inner-circle and join us. I would love to have you in the group. And if you like this podcast, go to iTunes and subscribe. It'll help us in the rankings. Or leave us a review. We like reviews.
And tell all your friends.
If it's a 5-star review. If it's not a 5-star review, then please write and tell me why. And if I think it's reasonable, I will make it a 5-star review by doing the thing you ask. Caveat, I probably won't. Or, you know, just share it. You know, send people to vickyfraser.com/podcast.
Cool. Right, time's up.
Yeah, go do something scary, and we'll see you same time next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.